Is Buc-ees gonna be the next $1 trillion business gas station worth $1 trillion? Bigger than Walmart, bigger than even Costco. They didn't just start yesterday. They started way back in 1982. They have 50 locations, and one of these stores right here does $315 million a year. And they're even able to pay their employees up to $225,000 a year. So they're paying well, they're making a lot of money, and they only have 50 locations. Let's talk about the economics of Buc-ees. Is Buc-ees gonna put Costco out of business? This video, we're gonna talk about where Buc-ees is right now, where they're going and what they're evolving into, where Costco is today and maybe what they are and aren't doing, and how they may even grow into possibly being big competitors one day. So I know what you're thinking, how are Costco's and Buc-ees even similar? Well, let's pull up the similarities and talk about it, right? And the reason why I'm comparing the two. Well, one, both of them have a massive cult following, right? Both are big box stores, both private label their items, both, yes, sell gas, both create an experience. It's not just you're going there for a simple thing. Both are doubling down on their online presence, and both are currently evolving, right? So you can technically even throw Walmart in this discussion as well, because these are all stores that are A, trying to stay top of their game at what they're currently doing, and B, they're trying to infiltrate other areas to give more exposure to their customers. But I actually pulled some numbers up on Costco's, and let's dive into the financial numbers. Costco's in 2024 did $250 billion in revenue and netted somewhere around $7 to $8 billion. They did that with 624 stores and 903 warehouses worldwide. Costco's also runs on about 200 to 300 employees per store, because Costco's has a lot of overhead between store locations, employees, all the products that they have to hold. That's why their actual net so low, where it's roughly in about 7 to 8 billion. Buc-ees, on the other hand, roughly each store makes about $315 million a year. They make almost $1 million a day per location. Now they have 50 locations. They did about 15 billion last year, and they're private, so they don't need to publicly put their numbers out there. But if we had to just guesstimate based on the numbers we're seeing, they're running, let's say, between 20 and 25% net profits, which is actually really good. So that means their net profits would be pretty damn close to $4 billion, which is almost halfway to where Costco's is. If Costco's is netting 7 to 8 billion, making 250 billion, and Buc-ees is making 15 billion in revenue and netting roughly 4 billion, they're actually right there. Buc-ees literally just doubles, goes to 100 stores. They've matched or even beat Costco as far as net profit goes. If Buc-ees had as many store locations as Costco did worldwide, 624 stores, Buc-ees, I just had to do the math here because this is a big number. Buc-ees would be worth $9.3 trillion. That is insane. And it would be $1 trillion company. They'd be even surpassing Walmart at that point. But before we dive into all that information, have you ever even heard of Buc-ees? Because I wasn't that familiar with it. So I had to go online, do some research, and figure out what the hell is Buc-ees and why is it so big? After doing some research on the internet, you find out, well, Buc-ees is the 25th largest privately held company in the US. That's nuts. They did 15 billion last year in 2024. Next, who's their competitors? Are they competing with anybody? Well, after doing some research, come to find out, Buc-ees literally created the Blue Ocean Effect. If you haven't read Blue Ocean Strategy, it's a phenomenal book, but it's basically where a company comes in and reinvents a saturated market, like the gas station, right? Where you're like, how can you reinvent gas? Well, they just did it. They did what the big box stores did in the 90s, like Walmart and like Costco, and basically created these massive locations that people would go and be a one-stop shop for everything, but they did it with gas. No one had done that yet. And right now, Buc-ees has the world's largest gas station, which is 76,000 square feet, which is in Texas. So their only competitor that comes even close, a smidgen, is a West Coast competitor called Wally's. They have 72 locations. Their largest store is 36,000 square feet, so it doesn't even come close to Buc-ees, and all the rest of their stores are maybe a third or a fifth of the size. They're tiny in comparison. So they still don't really have anybody competing with them. What I'm coming to find out, they're creating what I'd call the Costco effect. One Costco store location brings in 260 million out of the 624 that they have. They've been around for 41 years. They started back in 1976. This is one of the first original box stores that said, hey, buy a warehouse, come here and shop and buy everything in one shot. They created this cult following that still exists today. But the real question is, how long is that gonna last? With the massive success of gas stations like Buc-ees, what's Costco doing to take advantage of that? Well, we already know Costco has ventured into gas, giving more offerings to their customers. Right now, Costco is actually expanding its gas station offerings by including extended hours and recent increase in executive member cashback rate. While Costco's fuel stations are popular destinations for members seeking discounted gas, the future of these stations may also involve competition from other retailers like Walmart, which is also increasing in the fuel market. What that that tells you is one thing. If Walmart and Costco and these massive retailers, these massive box stores are increasing on the gas side to take advantage of what big businesses like Buc-ees is doing, then the real question is, what is Buc-ees doing to increase their memberships and their retainment of their customers? And what is Buc-ees going to evolve into to compete with other big box stores like a Walmart or just like Costco? Costco's online sales are projected to continue growing, reaching an estimated $25.5 billion in the US by 2026. This growth is driven by investment in e-commerce, infrastructure, improvements to online shopping experience, and increased focus on digital transformation. And Costco isn't the only business. Walmart was losing literally $1 million a day before they finally jumped online. This is nothing new. Everybody knows they need to be on the internet, and they know they need to be dominating where people want to shop. Otherwise, Amazon's going to crush them. And that's why even Buc-ees is putting together a whole strategic game plan to take all their merchandise and all the most famous products like their jerky, their hats, all their merch, and start to develop an online store as well. What is Buc-ees going to evolve into? And is it going to be a major competitor one day for businesses like Walmart and even Costco? Costco has its own private label, Kirkland, which they do billions of dollars with, and everybody knows that company. Buc-ees has its own private label, both in gas and in merchandise. Now, they're private, so they don't publicly talk about the name. That's another similarity, and as they grow in popularity and continue to grow, they're going to have either more and more private labels pop up, or they're going to have one big, massive brand like Kirkland fall under one umbrella and supply all their customers. But now let's talk about Buc-ees, where they've been, where they're at right now, and where they're going. Let's go back to day one and talk about how Buc-ees got started. It all started in 1982 when Arch Beaver Applin III opened up a small little shop near Houston. He took his nickname, his dog Buck, and Ipana Toothpaste's Bucky Beaver from the ad, and boom, Buc-ees was born. In 1985, they went big. Him and his partner Don Wessick bought a location that was 6,000 square feet, had a kitchen, and they started making sandwiches and tacos. And by 2003, they built a 35,000 square foot store in Lulling, Texas, therefore setting the megastore vibe. In 2012, New Braunfels hit 68,000 square feet. Then Sayreville, Tennessee took the crown in 2023 at 74,707 square feet, the world's largest until Lulling's new location that was 75,593 square feet. And that beast just opened in 2024. And that is officially the world's largest gas station in the planet. And currently today, they stand at 50 locations across 9 different states. Not to mention, they don't franchise. This is all private, which is pretty impressive. All right, and here we are. We are at Buc-ees, guys. I gotta admit, I'm actually getting pretty excited as we're pulling in here. I don't know if it's the Buc-ees effect or what. I mean, but look at this place. I mean, look at this. This is insane. You filming this, Axel? Look at it. I mean, right now it is 12:45. I don't know if they have a lunch rush or what. I don't know if it matters, but Buc-ees has 20,000 people visit them every single day per store. 20,000. Think about it. Each store does $1 million plus per location. 20,000 people coming in here. The average Buc-ees has 120 gas pumps. The average gas station only makes about 5 to 10 cents per gallon. Buc-ees numbers aren't public, so I would venture to say they're probably making the same amount, so they're not making a lot of money on the gas. Therefore, where are they making the real money? Back there, inside the store. So Buc-ees for a gas station, if you look at what they're paying, it's insane. I mean, check this out. A general manager makes $225,000 a year. It's got to be one of the highest paying general manager positions. It's like running a Walmart. So their retention in people is amazing. Now think about it. They're building these locations in the middle of nowhere pretty much, right? Because these aren't major highways. These aren't near cities. To find good people, you know, in these areas is probably pretty tough. So a lot of these people with skills and experience are probably traveling from God knows where just to work here every single day to find the quality people. But I mean, for $225K, would you move to the middle of nowhere or drive 45 minutes to work every day? Of course you would. Because, you know, even on the lower end, I mean, you look at the people that clean the toilets, the bathroom attendants, the guys, even they get $20+ an hour. And that's not bad for working in a bathroom. So here it is, Bucky the Beaver. But why does Buc-ees have such a following? Why would people drive 100 miles out of their way for really just a pit stop? Well, first of all, it's not just a pit stop. As we said before, it's an experience. In fact, they won an award from Cintas in 2012 for having the cleanest restrooms in the country. They're quite known for that. Everybody knows their bathrooms are squeaky clean. Who else do you know that wins an award for the cleanliness in their bathroom and can brag about it? And in fact, everybody talks about it. But roughly, they usually have about 33 urinals, over 50 stalls, and it's clean 24/7. In fact, they've become world famous for this. So Buc-ees right now makes about $300 to $400 million a year on all its merchandise sales. So that means they're making about 40 to 60% net profits according to what says online, even though everything's private. These are just guesstimations, but 40 to 60%. So this product right here that is $30, that means they're making about $14 to $16 on each one of these sold. But check this out. It's made in China, right? So it's made in China, so it's being shipped out. How much did China make this for? $1, $2, shipping fees. It makes sense. So they're making all their money on the attractions that's in here. 1, merchandise, and 2, on food. But what they're really known for, especially as a pit stop, is their brisket sandwiches. These things are amazing, and they're pumping them out all day. Literally every 15 minutes, someone else has new hot brisket getting chopped up, and they just keep putting out the sandwiches. And as you can see, people just keep picking them up. They must sell thousands of these per day. They're serving barbecue sandwiches till midnight. This is the main reason why people are walking out of there spending around $58 to $68 every single trip. But not just that, they have fudge, they have Beaver Nuggets. So the Buc-ees nuts, this is the % sold product in the entire store. So right here, so $4.49 is what they're selling this for. I'm gonna probably venture to say they're making about 60+% profit on this. And they sell so many of them, they're just pumping these out all day. Not to mention all the merchandise. But ultimately what it's become like the Disneyland for travelers. When you're driving on a road trip and there's a Buc-ees within an hour away, you're popping in and you're like a little kid in Disney World. This is what you want, the beef jerky. But one of the biggest things they're really known for is their beef jerky. And that's where it's really made them the king of jerky. I mean, they literally have every single flavor you can think of. Just look how much jerky they have here. You think of it, they got it. Not to mention, it's super fresh and the pieces are massive. In fact, it doesn't even taste like normal jerky that you get out of the bag. And all this jerky is made in Central Texas at a smokehouse, and they've done it since 1982, using lean Texas beef, slow dried for flavor. Flavors like cherry maple, ghost pepper, teriyaki. They have 20 different types of flavors, and it's all Southern style. How does Buc-ees actually know when they choose a location that it's gonna be successful? Because every time they pick a spot, it's a winner, making 300+ million. They actually have a location strategy that makes sure that when they bring the hype, they bring the customers in also. Well, this is how they pick their spots. It's surgical. They target high traffic highways like I-10 or I-95, where 7,300 cars pass daily and 11,700 on holidays per studies. Think outside big cities, lulling, not Austin. So road trippers stop. And they're smart. They're picking business-friendly zones with tax breaks, like Mabane, North Carolina, where they got a $10 million tax break on a $38 million store. And also their workforce matters. Since 200+ employees per store are needed, they need local hires. And this is really how they created that blue ocean strategy. They legitimately created a new market where no one else did. 75,000 square foot gas stations with 120 pumps. It's like a theme park. Competitors like Wawa, smaller or lesser ones, don't even compete. Buc-ee has 50 stores in over 9 different states: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, Colorado, North Carolina. And really, they're aiming for travelers, not locals, making every stop a destination. But let's actually break down why they're able to pay so much and how much each employee gets paid. The employee pay is high and working conditions are high also. So why do they pay so much? Well, Buc-ee's paying janitors between $16 and $18 an hour. Managers between $175,000 and $225,000 a year. That's wild, right? Florida's minimum wage is $13, but entry-level position for Buc-ee's is $15.73, and plus they give them 401k, plus 3 weeks vacation. Well, why do they pay so much? Remember, they have high revenue. They make $305 million per store. And since they make so much revenue, they're like, let's bankroll 200+ people per location. But the most important part is they want to keep the turnover low, find quality people, and raise within, which is why they're willing to pay so much. Life in Buc-ee's is as you can imagine it. It's fast-paced, 24/7, 350 employees at a big store location, and janitors clean non-stop. And TikTokers like Roxy Eve went viral for comparing her case manager pay to Buc-ee's janitors. Same cash, but less and less stress. But Glassdoor notes long shifts, high pressure, but great benefits and team vibe. They can afford it because fans spend big money and walk out of there happy. But all in all, the biggest thing is the people that work here, they can make a real life and a real living working at a gas station. Think about that. That's crazy. All right, so something interesting. So the average customer of Buc-ee's spends about $68, right? So I just came out of there and I spent $91.99. So a little bit more than above average. And let's look at what I got. Probably say the average customer is probably walking out with similar stuff than I got. I got Buc-ee's famous nuts, which everybody purchases. I got their 3-meat sandwich. Can't walk out of there without one of those. And I got their chopped beef, right, which they're known for. So I also got some extra attire. I got a Buc-ee's hat, right? Can't walk out of there without getting some Buc-ee's gear. I got a Buc-ee's t-shirt as well. Can't leave without some Buc-ees gear. I got another Buc-ees hat, right? Got to feed the beaver. Got another Buc-ees hat. And then I got a Buc-ees beach towel, right? So most people are walking out with merchandise, but essentially everybody's walking out with food of some sort. So if the average customer is walking out spending about $68, do the math. If they're seeing about 20,000 customers per day, an average of 68 spend on merchandise, they're making roughly about 60% per item, right? Profit. You can do the math on that. So what's the future of Buc-ees? They're going to continue to grow. They're opening in 15 more different states. They're going to probably grow from 50 to 100 gas stations, I would say, very quickly in the near future, but they're also expanding their merch. Think beef jerky selling on Amazon.com. Because there's such a fan base, their online presence and online revenue is going to go through the roof, because if I could have bought this hat online, I would have, right? Their presence is going to grow well beyond that. And that's how they're going to not just take over and beat places like the Costco's and continue to beat Wally's and other competitors. I think they're going to surpass all of them. Buc-ee's road to $1 trillion business, I believe, is only 10 years away. What do you think?